Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share the work we are doing with ADA Singapore. I came from the university. I'm working in the hospital. I'm no longer in the university. I'm working in the hospital. And this is something that we did with Alzheimer's Disease Association Singapore. And I'm just sharing some of the results that we've gathered. Really, I'm going to present two studies today, but I don't really want to bore everybody with lots of details. But it is important that we start looking at the service we provided. And this whole thing started when we were looking at what we were doing. We were looking at the work we were doing with our people living with dementia at home. We think we are doing good work, but how do we show others that we are? Because for funding purposes, we need to demonstrate that what we're doing is indeed helping, facilitating the well-being of people living with dementia who are still living at home. So that's how those two studies came about. So I'm going to talk about the well-being of people, person with dementia, in a home-based tailored activity program. I know the title is a little bit long, but just bear with me. And what we know is you get studies and research telling us about activity-based engagement being able to increase the psychological well-being of people with dementia. And we know that. That's quite established. But very often we get these studies being conducted or these activities being planned in a residential setting, in a daycare setting. But we don't have much data or much research on activities engagement at home. Okay, and in fact, our studies were looking at engaging people with living with dementia in activities at home, and these are carried out by non-clinical staff. So they are home care staff who have been trained. And we are not looking at a single type of intervention or activity. So we're not talking about a dance, or we're not talking about music, we're not talking about reminiscence, but we're talking about engaging people in activities that are tailored for them. And most of these, so this is the toolkit that we actually equip all our staff with when they go out to their homes. And we call it the Dementia Activities and Care Toolkit. Our occupational therapists first borrowed the idea from Israel. So they've got this, they've been doing this for quite a while, and we thought, we want to do something like that in Singapore. How do we then tailor the kit so that it's more culturally relevant? And what we wanted to do is to engage our people with dementia, knowing their remaining abilities. So we'll use tools like the PEL, the pool activity levels, to know at what level could we work with this client of ours, with this person living with dementia. We have an extensive, quite a long history taking. We would find out about their previous roles, their likes, their dislikes, their beliefs, what's important to them, what do they like to do previously, or any new hobbies that they've picked up since. And our staff are being trained in a 3-day program, and they then receive on-the-job training with occupational therapists. But that's time limited, so I think they have about 2 or 3 sessions with the occupational therapist. And then they go out with a backpack filled with stuff like this. So we've got a set of kit for sensory type of engagement. We've got your sports, physical activity type of materials. We've got stuff like, these are some of the cards that ADA have come up with. And, I don't even know how to play this game. This is a 4-color card game that's quite unique to Asians or Chinese in Singapore. Something my great-grandmother would play, but I don't quite know how to do it. And then we've got creative arts kit. This is all in that backpack. Okay. And then we have pictures, culturally relevant pictures, creative storytelling, all these Asian faces. It's almost like the time slip, if you're familiar with the time slip, but Asian faces, Asian themes. I like that particular picture. It was hot. Thank God, amen. And then we have reminiscent kits as well. Again, these items are culturally very relevant. Now, this is what we send them out with. But 3 months later, everything in that bag would change. Why? Because it's all tailored to the client's needs. So I've got one with the box. Well, I've got one of the staff who has this special box of, I call it twigs and leaves, because she worked with a client who used to be a Chinese physician. And we always have, or she always have this sharing session where there's a person living with dementia who used to be a Chinese physician. They get to share about all the different medicinal properties of the twigs and leaves. So your bag or their bag would change depending on the clients that they are working with at that time, tailoring to their likes, their needs, their roles. Okay? So they go out with a toolkit. And I think before I carry on further, I would like to talk a little bit about dementia care mapping. Could I just have a quick show of how many mappers we've got here? Okay. So basically, very quickly, dementia care mapping is a tool, is a process. And what it aims to do is to facilitate delivery of person-centered care. It's typically used in formal care setting, okay, and you do need training, probably about 3 or 4 days of training, depending on which version you get, before you are allowed to use it, because it's governed by very strict rules in terms of when you're making the observation, what do you note and what do you take down. I personally find it a very useful tool in my practice. And recently this tool, because previously and traditionally DCM has been used in domiciliary, so institutions, they're very particular about not mapping in private spaces. So in the home, the whole house is a private place. So we're very particular about not mapping in the house. But in recent years, actually in 2009, they have adapted the tool for observation at home. And we thought, what better way to measure our work than to have a tool that's supposed and purported to measure the person-centeredness of the work we're doing. So we decided to then embark on using DCM-SL to look at the service we're providing at home, okay? So the first study, the specific aims was basically to use the tool to describe the activities that our clients engage in when they're at home. We want to see, because for the occupational therapists, they like to look at diversity of activities. You know, for the person with dementia, are they doing a diversity of activities that is addressing their needs? We want to look at the mood level, the engagement level of the person living with dementia who are doing all these home-based activity. We then want to look at the interactions, to take a step back from being task-focused. You know, when you're doing this engagement, what is the interaction patterns like between the home care staff and the person living with dementia? What do we see? Can we characterize this? Can we share this with the staff when we're giving feedback? So basically, that's the aim of this study when we are collecting. So I spoke to 12 home care staff. Of the 12 of them, 11 of them actually agreed to be part of the study. It is quite daunting for them because for the very first time, they're going to be observed. I'm going to be there. Even though I promised them that I'm going to be a fly on the wall, I really am very thankful that they agreed to be part of the study. All these 11 staff do not have any formal training qualification in terms of they're not nurses, they're not social workers in dementia care or nursing. But what they have done was that they've attended our 3-day course, 3-day classroom course, and they do get follow-up with occupational therapists when they do their visits. They have about 22 clients in total. I wasn't able to observe all 22 clients for one reason or another. I think some of them were hospitalized, some of them were too frail, and there was one particular client that actually participated in activity in his bedroom, and I didn't think it was appropriate for me to be mapping him in his bedroom. So in total, I was with the home care staff for 12 clients. So the staff many of them were mid-career changes, so they were middle-aged. Most of them had about 2 years on average experience working in the service. And the clients we observed, persons living with dementia, they range from 78 to 93, different functional levels. The Bartel scale is about 15 to 100, and they are of the full spectrum. So some of them were mild, some of them were moderate, and we actually have some clients who are at the severe stage of dementia. So we then use the tool. I go out with the staff. I then use DCM-SL to observe throughout the sessions when they were interacting and engaging the clients in activities that are meaningful to them. So DCM-SL, what do I collect? I will record down what I call behavior category code. This is taken down after every 5 minutes. It records the behavior or the activities that the person living with dementia is engaging in. Okay, there are 24 possible codes, and then I'll record the mood and engagement. Okay, and that range from a -5, and that means -5 means being very distressed, okay, to a +5, meaning actually a very positive mode and deeply engaged. So that's -5, -3, -1, +1, +3, and +5. That's how the rating goes. So I will record every 5 minutes, and there are operation rules that, that's part of the tool, but that you can pick up when you're doing the training. So I will record the code, what they were doing, the mood and engagement, and in the meantime, every time there's interaction, I will look at the patterns of interaction. What was happening? What were they saying? What were they talking about? What was the home staff doing with the clients? So that would be classified into personal detractors, which are interactions that we felt undermine the personhood of the person who living with dementia, or it could be, and very often, more often than not, is personal enhancers. So interactions that actually maintain or enhance the personhood of the person that they are working with. So I'll record that, and they were observed for 2 sessions each. Usually for our care package, each service for each client will visit from 1 to 2 hours, depending on the needs of the client, because some clients felt that they could stay for 2 hours, they're happy to work with us for 2 hours, then that for their care package, that's for 2 hours. For some of our clients, it's an hour because physically they're more frail, they get tired easily, so then it's just an hour. So it varies between 1 or 2 hours each session. I observe each client for 2 sessions, and I get about 120 data points. Okay, so this is the results, and I'm just going to go through it quite quickly. So what we saw, this is the combined data. And what we found that as a group, our clients enjoy a wide variety of activities in the 1 hour or the 2 hour of time that our home care staff spend with them. And what was interesting was all these activities belong to what we call high potential activities. They were called high potential activities because they were activities that will potentially increase well-being, that will bring on well-being for the clients. Okay, I didn't put a legend down. So A refers to articulation, where the activity is mainly about conversation. Okay, E refers to creative expression. So they could either be singing a song or to be doing something quite free-form, but term as a creative activity. F refers to food. Very often our home care staff will have a little break in between, because an hour or even 2 hours can be really long. So they'll bring some of their favorite food, and they might have a little chat, and take about a 10 minutes, 15-minute break. Or if there's any festival around the corner, they'll bring food that's appropriate for that. And they'll have a blast just talking about it. But the main activity it will be recorded as a F. And then that's G. G means going back, which in this case refers to reminiscence. I, intellectual activities. J refers to physical activities, exercises. K, walking. L, leisure activities. O refers to interacting with an object. P, receiving physical care. R, religious activities, so even a quiet time praying together. And V, vocational activities. So as a group, as I've observed them over 2 sessions, these are the activities that our clients are engaged in. A wide variety. So you might say to me, Joy, that's for the group. What about a client? So this is somebody I've just pulled up. This is one of our clients, unidentified, him or her is participant number 9. And what you see, this is for this particular person living with dementia that we are engaging at home. And this is over 2 sessions. And you can see that it's across different activities. There was a wide variety. So the occupational therapists are quite happy about that. Okay, they're quite happy about that. We then look at the well-being scores. Okay, so remember I was talking about -5 being very distressing for the client, and +5 means a very positive note. So you could see the range, there is a mean score range from 1.5. The individual mean score range from 1.5 to +4.1. So that's really quite nice. Okay, the client that was at 1.5, that's participant number 3. He was physically very frail. So and because of his other disability and difficulty, I had a bit of problem observing his expression, his mood, and his engagement, which is why I'm quite conservative with him. Most of the time, he does not show any signs of ill-being, So he was quite flat, he was quite neutral. He was intermittently engaging with us, or not with us, but with the home care staff in the activities. But there was not too much of ups, but there was no downs, which was really good. Okay, this is a group well-being score. Okay, people living with dementia spend 81% of the time, at least in our sample, in a considerable to a very high positive mood and engagement. So most of them, 81% of them, are in +3 and +5. So that was very encouraging. And 9 out of 12 clients, actually, because it's a very small sample, so we were able to see that 9 out of our 12 clients demonstrated considerable well-being 58% to 86% of the time, and we're talking about +3. And one particular client, I just get so humbled when I see them work together, because she would be in very positive mood. She's +5, 50% of the time. So I walked out there feeling really, really happy, because it's just such a nice energy, and there was so much things happening for the client as well as for the staff to be able to share and work with her, actually. Now, remember I was talking about characterizing the interactions. So other than all the numbers, I look at what happened between the care staff and the client. And what you see is that there were many, many episodes of what we call PEs, personal enhancers. Whatever the care staff did, they were doing it so well that it brings out and it just facilitates the personhood of the client, this person living with dementia in the community. It was such a delight to watch. It really was. Yes, thank you. So basically, the data, the tool was able to demonstrate and suggest to us that, okay, we are on the right track, that doing a tailored activity engagement program can actually potentially increase the well-being of these people living with dementia in the community. Okay, and we are trying to show, and we showed that actually this service is carried out by home care staff that were not your occupational therapists, that are not your psychologists, but they're just home care staff that are well supported by the organization, okay, with the appropriate training, with the right support from clinical allied staff, and they are able to do all this good work to provide person-centered care, moving away from just being task-focused. It was just really good work that they are doing. And I'm just glad that we were able to capture that and show that, okay? moving on very quickly, I just want to talk very quickly about the tool itself, because as I was saying, it can be very daunting for the staff to say, you're going to come in and observe me. Is this going to be an audit of how I'm going to perform and all the things like that? So there was quite a bit of apprehension before we start. And we thought, and actually Bradford is very strict about us using the tool in the country. So every country that wanted to start the tool would have to do a feasibility and acceptability study. So when I did it a while back, I think we were the first country out of the UK. UK did a pilot study up in Lincolnshire. So they had been using the tool since 2009. So DCM, as I mentioned earlier, was traditionally used in a formal care setting. But then we, as DCM practitioner, felt that there is such a need to actually have an observation tool that we could use to support our staff working in the community, in the home of people living with dementia. So, and given that there is no other tool out there, we thought we need to adapt this so that it can be done at home. Much earlier on, there was a small Danish study to say that actually staff didn't find it too intrusive. Staff were able to accept the use of such a tool that was in Denmark. And then we brought this back to Bradford, and they decided to do a pilot study in 2009. They launched the tool. Now, the 2M process is very similar to DCM for those mappers who are familiar with DCM. They have one additional BCC, which is M for medication. Okay, because some of our care staff would go in and serve medication. And the time frame, so in a nursing home or in a daycare center, mapping is done every 5 minutes. But at home, when you're only observing one client, one person, it's every 2 minutes. So I take the recording every 2 minutes. So I'm going to jump to results. I'm not going to tell you too much about the procedure, but if you're interested in the tool, we can always have a chat over lunchtime. I'm very keen to share about it. But I'm just going to share what the staff shared with me. The themes. So after the study, we actually interviewed all our home care staff. It was a 40 minutes interview, and we talked about how they felt about being observed. What was the experience like for them? I didn't do the interviews because I was quite close with the staff. So actually another colleague of mine did the interview and I did the analysis. So there were two main themes. One of it was the tool as a process. They shared with me their concerns at the different process, at the consenting process, at briefing, at mapping, at feedback. So they shared with me their concerns, their worries, and whatever it was. But another theme that came out from the interview was that they felt the tool being very facilitative of reflective practice. After they provide a service, they felt that tool were able to give them feedback that they found quite useful. So they talk about the need for clear explanation, as I was sharing, and we were right. They were quite concerned when the organization brought up the tool, and they were like a bit worried about what it meant for them. So they said that you need to provide clear explanation why we're doing this. It's not for audit purposes. It's really to support the staff. There's some nice quotations on it. Some of them felt that the information communicated was quite complex because the tool itself can be quite complex if you're not familiar with it. But most of the home-based staff stated that the information that was given to them was adequate. And they felt that what is important is for them to understand the purpose of the tool. Why are we doing it? Okay, I think this is very important. They actually say that mapping did not impact on service provision. 90% thought that it's fine. They say, treat me like a furniture, just ignore her in a sense, treat her like a furniture, so I was being treated like a furniture. And I'm quite chuffed about that because I'm supposed to be the fly on the wall, so I'm quite happy when they treated me like a furniture. They did say that some of them are more conscious of my presence, but in the second session, they were able to relax more. In terms of their clients they're working with, they felt that some of them were quite conscious of my presence, but most were able to settle after a while. So they were initially distracted by my presence because I'm not usually there, but after a while they were able to settle down. And in fact, several of the home care staff claimed that because I was there, it actually impacted quite positively on the person living with dementia, because some of them say they don't get many visitors, and because there's somebody else new, they're quite happy to see my face. So that was quite nice. They felt that the verbal feedback was very useful, and in fact, they felt that the section, because I gave them a report at the end of it, and they said that they found that by sharing what they did well and what they could be improved, they found that quite useful. They appreciated the information on the interaction exchanges, and I'm running out of time, but I think this was very important. Overwhelming number of my home care staff felt that they felt really validated when I was able to share positive feedback. Because after a while, they're left on their own in the field, so they don't know how they did. So when I come in and say, gosh, did you realize you were doing this, and that was brilliant, that was really good, they felt really validated, okay? And the other theme was that it allowed an increased awareness of the interaction. Thank you very much.